All right, here we go. We are now recording.
Fantastic. All right, welcome everyone to the second meeting for the Readiness Working Group in preparation for the migration for the Helium network over to the Solana blockchain. It is Thursday, March 9th, at least for most folks. So want to run through number of different updates as far as updated docs. So I'm looking to quickly see who is here from the manufacturer side. We did have some updates that related to Maker app. So just wanted to get just kind of a check-in from any of the manufacturers if they are on right now. As I'm scanning, I actually don't see, so that may be a follow-up item for us on the foundation team. I know that we've already done some outreach, but since I don't see anybody on the call right now from the manufacturing community, we will come back to that. Oh, sorry, Kevin. Yeah, so it's just more of a, again, I think we just wanted to get a gut check on like feelings around readiness, ability to kind of update your Maker app on time, and generally any other kind of lingering concerns, questions, or effects on your operations.
I think from the Maker side, most of your documentation has just been released, especially looking at the Maker Starter app. So there's quite a bit of work to be done on the Maker side. I think we are still waiting on some more documentation regarding firmware updates as well.
Okay, and
yeah, so on the Maker, the Maker SDK, just for context for everybody else, and the Maker Starter app was released just I think 2 days ago. So I think my just for folks listening to this later, especially on the manufacturing side of things, we want to get a sense of scope of change that you guys need to do. Like our thoughts are, what are the things that you might need to do maybe on the hotspot, maybe in dashboards that you have that are on the hotspot, like a portal that you might have there, any app changes that you'll have to do, and your expectation of like how long that'll take to go through the iOS and Android app store process. Those are the sort of critical things here. And if a majority of makers feel like they can go through this iteration quickly, I think it would be fine for us to maintain our plan on readiness to go. But if we hear a lot of feedback around this stuff saying that, hey, like there's no chance that we'll be ready, or here's how many customers might be affected, and those kinds of messages, we need to hear that hopefully in the next few days, after you guys scope the work, because that'll be an input into this group's sort of decision making, I think.
Yeah, we will definitely need to make a full review of the required changes in the Maker app, but from our experience on the time it takes to get updates through on the App Store, especially with internal releases, etc., I think we are already at a quite close call here.
okay, I guess what would be, and again, to the degree, Kevin, if you're more comfortable, obviously I'd love to keep the discussion in that Fishbowl channel in Discord, just so folks are aware, and again, I want the opportunity for other manufacturers to be able to kind of weigh in on their readiness. If there's anything you want to discuss one-to-one with us that's more sensitive, feel free to reach out to Foundation. I'm assuming you've been in touch typically with Christina or Sophie on the kind of manufacturing side, but yeah, again, to the degree you guys kind of get to a place of, look, we are not, we're not confident in being ready for the proposed date right now, just to get a better understanding of, if there was 1 more week, 2 more weeks, I want to try to get a general sentiment from all makers of whether the date is going to be satisfactory, or, you know, if we do need to postpone, what is something where I think everybody in this group would agree, we definitely do not want to move the date more than once if we have to move the date. So just getting a sense of, yes, an additional 2 weeks is more than sufficient, or 1 week would be plenty sufficient, but, you know, just any other feedback there from your perspective, that would be helpful for us to kind of bring back to the entire group here as well.
Yeah, I will come back to you on that tomorrow.
Okay.
On the channel.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And we'll, just for everybody else here, we'll continue to follow up directly with the other makers, especially those with significantly sized fleets.
Okay,
Understand
thanks.
this is a difficult time for folks in China to be on the call, so tough to satisfy everybody with this one. So we're trying to make sure we're diligent about that one-to-one outreach. Any other notes on docs that we need to be covering off on? Kind of open questions right now. I do want to kind of cover off on that. I think that we've got want to give a little bit of a quick status on audits, but I don't want to move on to that before we kind of cover off on anything else kind of docs related or open questions there.
I had a question. I'm not sure if I should have posted it in the Google Doc or no. And I'm not sure if it's related to docs. I think it's related to docs. It's around getting clarity on each API endpoint, potentially.
Yeah, any go back to my notes, unless anybody else in the foundation team wants to jump in, but I did have Joe, are you on right now? Can you speak to?
Yeah. So you're talking specifically around blockchain data, right? This isn't necessarily console APIs or things like that.
Yeah. So basically, like, I don't think there's like too many of those endpoints, but if we can get like a good understanding of what's going to happen, well, pretty much they're all going to be duplicated as far as I understand it. But what's an alternative? And maybe there's no alternative. Maybe it's something gets moved to Oracle API, right? Just for us to understand on like the most basic level of each endpoint, what's going to happen. And happy to help with that if there's any.
Well, first of all, all help welcomed there. The sort of state of things is that we are looking largely to the community. So folks like you and Hotspotty and Helium Geek and some of these other folks that are building solutions on top of this Oracle data. As sort of a support of that, we did put together that sort of lightweight API tool. That was Matthew on the foundation team put that together. The existing API we are hoping to keep running on old blockchain data, so that will effectively halt, but that data will be still available, but would not update based on the new Oracle data that's coming into it. I think that's probably about the shortest version of that I could probably offer right now.
If say we start some open, I don't know, Google Doc page where we list all endpoints and we invite you guys foundation into it, and maybe you give context on as many as you can. I'm not sure if anyone wants to add any other API, maybe CLI API or anything else, right? But that's from Relay perspective, that's what I'm concerned mostly, because we are having pretty hard time trying to find these alternatives across all of the ecosystem, and would be great to maybe potentially help others to see if there's even an alternative available.
I think that works. Yeah. So Elijah, just to confirm, like you would basically want to say, like, take a copy of the API docs and say, today you would query the old API, next after migration, here's what you could query instead, or here's how you can get to the same data set.
Exactly. Yep.
If you're up for starting that, we're more than happy to participate, and the output of that can go directly back into the docs repo, I think.
That's going to be great. I'll start spreadsheet Docker. If anyone from Foundation wants to start it to have control over it, happy to use that.
No, it's okay. Like totally okay if you run it.
Okay.
Before we'll review it before it goes into the doc repo anyway, right? So it'll be
I'll publish it as a point under the open question in a few minutes here. Thanks.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Thank
like
you.
even just a draft PR, and folks can kind of go contribute into that or something. We can set that up.
Yeah, I was going to tag in and say, Elijah, if you want to just actually make a PR with that information, that, you know, kind of saves everybody one extra step. But if working in a Google Sheet is more simplified for you, please don't let that hindrance you.
Happy to use any help here who's a GitHub developer. I'm not very technical.
Just use GitHub. Just use Google Docs. Trust me.
That's perfect.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sam is more than happy to take that and clean it and get it into docs. It's just more about the content and making sure we're kind of mapping all the stuff. So Elijah, really appreciate the kind of support on kind of just kickstarting that. Can definitely help on our side. Was there anything else that was docs related? Yeah, I saw ETL API in the agenda, make wrap up that we discussed. As far as I can kind of touch on this a little bit high level, we're still in touch with a lot of the exchanges right now, just to kind of confirm support and make sure they have everything that they need on their side. The way that just some of these guys work as far as like kind of public statements that they are going to be supporting this, like it's not uncommon that stuff gets a little bit delayed on their side given how many blockchains are supported. So actively in touch. We'll have more information hopefully sooner rather than later. We'll keep the group here apprised of updates, but nothing material to report right now there. Yeah, I guess last call for docs. Otherwise, we can move over and kind of do the quick hits on the audit. Going once, going twice.
Actually, about the documentation, I know we discussed, but the documentation for the Oracle is great. I believe it is clear for everyone who read the documentation how to access the data, etc. But to me, as Having Geek, the Solana part is still kind of vague. I believe we were discussing if we can get some examples to query, let's say, the gateway and the account data from that. I'm wondering if there is some news there to fetch the
balances and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more like hotspot details specifically. Noah and Sam, can you guys work together to like, and I'll chat with you guys offline, but I think the work here is roughly like, how do you query hotspot data out of the, compressed NFT APIs that like, someone like Helios might provide?
Do you guys have like some sort of RPC test node that we could play around with it?
So we use Helios for our RPC, for all of our sort of internal RPC stuff. And I think we can sort of show the kind of queries that we can document the kind of queries that we use for this.
Yeah, I think that's good because we're planning on using them as well, because they're one of the few providers, right, that has compressed NFTs.
Yeah, there's going to be 3 or 4. But yeah, they're one of them for sure.
Yeah, one thing that we're considering building, and still like in the thought process, is to have like let's say a Helium API that combines the Oracle data with the Solana data, so that those who wants to build stuff on top of Helium data doesn't need to have to source of truth and deal with all the Oracle data, which is kind of painful sometimes to build everything. So we're building like an infrastructure that combines everything. Then we have endpoints that can be kind of similar to what we have now. But yeah, good to know if there's any interest as well on the community on that. But that can be for another time.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to publish any information about what you guys are doing there, I'm sure others will want to hear about it whenever you're ready.
Yeah, we'll do. Awesome.
All right. I think we can probably keep moving along here. As far as the kind of quick hits on audits, whether Noah, Abai, I don't know which of you guys want to kind of take the quick lead on that here.
I'll kick off, but no, oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so we got a like a work in progress report back from the auditors. They're still finalizing it. There's still a couple of other things they want to look at. But there was nothing too major. There were 20 issues. There was one pretty critical issue. The rest of them were, I'd say, like medium. Basically all of the changes required for the audit have already been done. We pull requested them and merged it today.
Yeah, and just to give folks a little more context, like, scope of all but I believe one was like medium or informational or there were a couple of highs. There was like one critical, and in fact it was one that we saw after we submitted it for audit. And so we're really glad that they found it too. It actually kind of almost reinforces that they're a good firm. We knew that, of course, going in, but it almost adds another plus one to that.
Yeah, they definitely found some really good stuff in there. So yeah, I'm glad we had them audit it. But yeah, I don't expect any delays from the results of the audit. There wasn't anything that was, major architectural issues that's gonna, require re-architecting things.
Yeah, so from a readiness perspective, we are confident with that the sort of final audit report will give the community, confidence in our smart contracts on Solana. So that's sort of our view on it. We'll publish it. Obviously, the audit will get published and everyone can read it.
Any questions from the group on this? Again, I know it's a little bit on the higher level, but I just want to make sure at least we're kind of discussing and bringing it to the group. No? Okay. Moving along here, I'm just looking back at the agenda. Call to action for infrastructure. So I think that actually refers to, okay, so I got like, yeah, on the, I can speak to the custody side really quickly. So Copper is a qualified custodian supporting HNT. Foundation perspective, we have been in touch with them. Seems like no real issues there around support. We're just kind of confirming timing works on their side, but for the most part, seems like not any major issues. So, again, qualified custody tends to be for larger holders or other kind of infrastructure providers, but everything looking pretty positive on that end there. And I think that this is also just referring to like, other exchanges, which again, I mentioned we had already been in touch with. Valerie, was there something else within, I'm just trying to make sure I'm covering off on this agenda item. Was there something else that you were mentioning there?
You're at the bullet point, the note on exchanges or the call.
Okay.
Oh, this was a call to action for, this was something Abai wanted to add here. So maybe I can put Abai on the spot.
Sorry, I'm trying to catch up to where we are in the.
We're
They were-
at number 3.
Oh yeah, so essentially this is like for anyone else. So Copper is one of them, who we have talked to. They haven't, just to be clear, they haven't officially announced that they are going to support the migration, but we feel like the conversations we've had with them so far are positive. Other kind of infrastructure exchange custodians, like all these like kinds of folks that like hold a lot of HMT. I'll even like throw Ledger into this. You know, we obviously want to hear from more of these folks, want to see more of these folks announce that they are able to support the migration. I think it'll give our community a lot of confidence. On Ledger specifically, I wanted to just call that one out. You know, our plan here is a firmware that is essentially a fork of the Solana Ledger firmware that uses Helium's derivation path. And so what that allows you to do is that'll allow you to sign Solana transactions on the Solana blockchain after the fact. It'll just be this sort of migration app. And this is important for anyone that holds HNT, obviously, if they want to transfer their HNT into a HNT SPL into a sort of Solana standard derivation path wallet on Ledger, they can do that. It also matters for everyone with staked HNT, more so because at this point, staked HNT, which will turn to be HNT, is non-transferable. It's soulbound to an account. And you know, if we wanted to support transfers in the future for that, like we would probably have to think through how to do that in a sort of way that is that doesn't sort of imply any sort of security transfer or anything like that, right? So we want to make sure that stuff is done correctly, and we want to have time for that. So in general, this is kind of an open call to action to anyone who is an infrastructure or custodial provider that needs help. Like, we are here to provide technical assistance for.
You muted yourself, I think.
Yeah, no, it's fine. That was all.
I just wanted to touch on this derivation path story. I have a feeling that that's new knowledge to at least some folks. It certainly was to me when we took this on. Maybe a quick primer on that to understand why there's work being done here.
Sure. So the way that ledgers work, and most hardware wallets work, essentially when you start up a new ledger, you're either putting in or you're given or using a 24-word phrase. What that phrase does, and this might be remedial for some folks, and some folks this might be brand new, so hopefully this helps a bunch of people. The 24 words generates a seed. That seed allows you to derive any number of private keys, and you can do this across multiple blockchains. And there's sort of a social consensus system on these things called derivation paths. And so one chain has, Helium has one derivation path, and Solana has another derivation path. And these kinds of hardware wallets that follow this BIP39 standard is essentially what they're all agreeing to is that they will use the same derivation paths. So that's the sort of gist of like why this matters for ledger devices. So Helium's firmware on the ledger uses a particular derivation path, which doesn't match Solana's on purpose today, so that you can have separate wallets on Helium and Solana, essentially private keys on Helium and Solana. When we move to Solana, because we're using the same kind of private key, the Edwards curve key, we can continue to use the Helium derivation path on Solana because it's a compatible key. So that's why we're sort of proposing, and we're planning on using this intermediate app. Call it the Helium Solana app. Essentially, it's effectively a Solana app. It is going to be a straight copy of Solana's firmware, since it's all open source, except it'll just have our derivation path. And so you can use that Helium Solana firmware wherever you might use a Solana firmware, specifically for your Helium assets. We don't like that long-term, obviously, because it's like now maintaining two separate, separate code base. We have to follow their security patches and all that, and improvements, of course. they recently added support for address lookup tables and merchant transactions on Solana. So like we would have to follow all those things. So, long term, not the best solution, but definitely the right solution in the short term, because it'll get all HNT holders access to their HNT SPL, using their ledgers after the migration. So that's, it's the sort of safest upgrade. And like happy to dive in more deeply on this stuff tomorrow during office hours, since it's somewhat technical as well.
Great, thanks, bye. Any other follow-up on that, or again, we can cover that in technical office hours, or if anybody had questions around it right now. Okay, quiet group today. I think that means we're perfectly ready. Everybody's happy. What else we got on our agenda? Yeah, I think this is the next piece is specifically really more of kind of typical, the same that we did in the last call. If there's open questions, anything as far as new impacts, any issues that have come up, we've noted downstream concerns here. Otherwise, I'm expecting that most of the issues were raised last week, but obviously want to make sure if something else has come up or anything that was concerning.
So one question I have for the group is like, are we going to be doing kind of a round the room temperature check vote essentially next week?
Yeah, I think that, at least my hope, what I'd like to do next week is effectively a straw poll on readiness. Which is why I think that the importance for this week, and maybe we can kind of get into it now, is we have the full hour. Do we want to, do people kind of want to voice opinion, how ready do you feel right now? Is there how much additional work? Do you feel like you're prepared? Do you feel like the resources that have been provided to your organization are adequate, and like similar organizations to yours should be well prepared, just given your own state? Anything as far as like a sentiment check right now from a more of a qualitative perspective might be helpful for us to hear if anybody wants to chime in.
We could do a reactions real quick and like a vote if people rather do that.
Hello, I have one question about doing the testing on the DBNet.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because the right now the document doesn't shows how we register the hotspot on DBNet in order for us to do the for example, if we want to do if we want to test add hotspot, transfer hotspot, or update hotspot, how do we do the testing? Because the current hotspot are not in the DBNet yet. So is there any process to do that?
Yeah, you should
No.
be able to use the same process that you've used with the existing onboarding server, where you post to the hotspots endpoint to add the hotspot by its public key.
So is there? So we just use the original DB on board API to register those hotspots, but is there any other endpoint to do the specifically on DBNet?
Yeah, so specifically on DevNet, you should use from the maker docs the onboarding. I think it's onboarding.web.testhelium.com. Treat that as you would the production onboarding server. So when you want to add a new hotspot, use your you can use the test maker for now, but you'll use the test maker credentials to hit the hotspots endpoint to add a hotspot. The same as you did on the old same as you did on the old onboarding service.
Oh, okay.
And then once it's added, you should be able to use the Maker SDK to then onboard that hotspot. Yeah.
Okay. But the testing also involved the user's Helium wallet as well. So does the Helium wallet also support the DEV net, or is there any other way that we can create the wallet in the DEV net?
Yeah, so the Helium wallet does support DevNet, or at least will. There's a settings that you'll be able to go into in the top. I'll check with the Nova team to make sure that that's been released, but you'll go into settings in like the top left-hand corner, and then there's a toggle that says preview Solana experience, and that will let you use the Helium wallet, the black Helium wallet app in DevNet.
Okay.
Yep, it's just just quite an open question. Current validator, does the foundation have any updates on what a potential timeline or process would be to have community members to run oracles? Having those outside the immediate foundation run infrastructure is a noted concern from those in the community. Are you able to speak to the kind of roadmap around oracles at all there?
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I was just posting a screenshot of what the black wallet settings look like. But yeah, so we don't have a design yet on what a multi, sort of a either or multiple oracles or guardians, or is it a completely separate network? Or then we haven't started the work around designing that ourselves. We also don't think that we should be solo in designing this. I think it'd be great to have community and ideas coming from the community on this as well. I can think of everything from just having 5 oracles that are picked by people, which is one approach certainly. You can have something that's like similar to Wormhole's Guardians that are sort of writing signed transactions on chain and something like that. You can have something like a full a full separate chain that is responsible for the Oracle data and is publishing that and using Solana as a data aggregation layer. Or you can have something like Eclipse that is sort of that's doing something like that in the Solana ecosystem. So there's a bunch of different designs. I think they all should be evaluated. I think it's important for us to take a good amount of time to evaluate which one's right for our networks. And in fact, I actually think it should be done independently. There should be one proposal around this for the IoT network and one around the mobile network, because I think the needs are different as well. So is this completely forgotten? Absolutely not. I think it's actually very important, and certainly in the back of my mind. From a prioritization perspective, I just want to make sure that we are very, very focused on this migration first. Hopefully that answers your question, Scott.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like a room for some fun projects ahead.
If you want to, I can spend hours thinking about this stuff, and I'm ready to. I think the rest of the team will kill me if I start though.
No, yeah, definitely first things first. And that was, one of the things I want to make sure in the question is get the migration correct, and then we can keep the decentralization moving downstream. So I think you've got a lot of people in the community who were validators that are ready to transition some, brain power and some capital power to solving these kind of problems.
For sure. Yeah. And we're actually incredibly open to doing this in a sort of, and I think, I know Scott will probably be mad at me for saying this, but at our next Helium House, I feel like this is a good topic for us to talk about.
No, I think this is a great talk. I mean,
When Helium House, Scott.
oh, that's a great, it's, maybe we should start talking about this as a fall event. What do you think, Abai? No, I
But
think
like having like a technical meeting about this in person, I think would be great.
yeah, I think that that's going to be core to like, once we get through migration and everything is, obviously like operationally smooth, and we've kind of, any kind of lingering like kinks that we need to deal with. The thing that kind of comes next on roadmap is, we have made meaningful changes to the infrastructure, moving, POC and data transfer to Oracle. So like, how do we think about the decentralization? So again, like where we've had a little bit of a pendulum swing to efficiency, how do we think about where that swings backwards now to, again, the network being incredibly neutral and making sure the kind of long-term path of where we start to distribute that authority out is critical to the roadmap. So, kind of kickstarting those discussions, both within Discord and community calls. But yeah, I think that's a great addition to the content for live events. I think it's going to matter. Yeah, Daniel, I don't know if we're going to be ready by consensus in April to talk all about that, but we're going to be there. So, we'll see y'all in Austin.
I mean, always an excuse to have some beers, right?
That's you don't have to twist my arm. Don't worry. We will be
Bring a
there.
whiteboard. Bring a whiteboard to the bar.
Bring whiteboard to bar. No, good thread of conversation. Thank you for bringing that up, Scott. Yep, Daniel, I know you mentioned, I'm going back scroll in the chat here, concerns about 27th. So I think that's, again, I'm looking for more of maybe it's a kind of a question of a sentiment check on the group. I'm trying to think of the easiest way to do a straw poll of kind of a, like, whether it's a first of a month versus a 27th, is that actually, is accounting kind of driving this? I think that obviously we need to confirm some other open issues. Again, I kind of noted exchanges earlier as one area for us to get a little bit of clarity, but yeah, effectively, anything else that people want to kind of vocalize right now, this is the time to do it, because I think what we don't want to do is be, we don't want to be making changes in the week before. So I think next week is really when we want to get to that go no go vote. So this is the day, this is the time to like air out anything that you have as concerns here.
I think my feeling is that if you want to force everything to happen and we do on the 27th, it's not going to be the worst thing, but it's going to break a lot of things, and then people are going to like have to rush and fix a lot of these issues. If you want to have more like a smooth transition, maybe a little bit more time, maybe 2 extra weeks or something. I mean, that's my personal feeling. I don't know if everyone is as non-confident as me.
So the only thing with the 27th versus the 1st is with host payouts that get paid monthly, which I think most hosting agreements are done monthly these days. Is it creates a really tight turnaround to get everyone's new wallet address, or I'm assuming there is some way of just figuring it out and then getting people's payments out. So that's my only concern with it. I mean, it's something that, if pushing on a Monday versus a Thursday or Friday is that big of a deal from an engineering standpoint, it's fine. But if it's not, then it would be easier for host management for everything to change on the 1st.
Oh man!
I mean,
we get
pushing big updates on
if we
Friday.
push stuff on Thursdays. Yeah. And engineers love to push things later in the week, and everybody else hates us for it.
I mean, because we don't have weekends, right? So it's okay.
Exactly.
What's a weekend? Sorry.
Max, I've got a question. Are you using the list of contacts in the wallet app to do your payments?
No, I'm using what is it? Helium tracker. Sorry, Daniel.
It's okay. I still love you.
you can get the new Solana wallet ID already now. I'll send you the link.
Is there a way
Yeah,
to
so
mass do
all
that for
these
like
tools-
100 addresses?
Yes. So all
Okay.
all of these apps that are out there should be able to generate the Solana addresses for any like thing that might be in an address book today. And the docs are on the docs are in the docs repo for that.
Okay, so I guess that's a question for Daniel then. Let's say I was using Hotspotty and I had everything in there, transition happens. Would all of the addresses automatically update in Hotspotty and I just point my camera at the QR code and everything goes as if we're on the old chain? Or do you foresee some issues with that?
Yeah, we're not 100% done on that. If you want to do the payment on the first, I can't really guarantee that everything is going to be work smoothly. We probably will try to find some workarounds temporarily to actually have time to implement and test the changes. We're most likely going to have some way to do it simple, like to simply pay everyone. But I don't think it's going to be immediate to have the QR code, for example. We may do like some sort of CLI or we're still like investigating between all the things that are going on. But yeah, we'll try to do it as fast as we can on that.
Yeah, okay. I don't think there's a reason to hold everything up. I'm just voicing what I think could be a pain point for some of the host companies. So just take that for what it's worth.
No, I appreciate that. And Max, like this is the kind of stuff that we want to hear in this. Like, I don't think everyone's like, obviously this is a smaller group than the entire community. And like, I'm sure you're not the only one that's thinking about this. So I appreciate it.
Anything else as far as again, like I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily concerns. So if anybody wants to voice kind of their feeling of we're ready, we're confident, we feel like docs are in a good place, at least for your organization. I think we're trying to get a good sense of, you know, how close are we right now?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest unknown is, you know, evaluating how ready makers are with the Maker SDK changes.
Yeah, and we'll try to get, I mean, our kind of next steps on that is, again, after we have some discussions with, you know, Bobcat, Rag, Seed, you know, others who weren't able to make the call, getting those actually like posted into the Fishbowl channel. Want to make sure the group can see, want to make sure the community can see. So action item for us to continue those conversations and getting some confirmation.
Yeah, I'll just jump in here. I think from my perspective, you know, I feel pretty good about the direction of everything and progress of everything. As we kind of approach migration, there's definitely a lot of technical stuff, you know, immediately on the other side of it. You know, we still have this community, this really widespread community of individual hotspot owners, you know, and other Helium participants that, you know, maybe not be as critical of this actual leading up to migration. So, you know, we just want to make sure that we're thinking about it from that perspective. And, you know, coming from the Helium blockchain and the Helium community, we have a lot of technical people, but the Solana ecosystem is technical in different ways and can be intimidating perhaps to some of that community. So not necessarily in the form of docs or, you know, not really focusing on it too much in terms of as we lead into it. But on the other side of it, we will have this community that needs a lot of guidance. And hopefully it's smooth and pretty simple and intuitive, and whether through the app itself or through other materials and other ways of just kind of ushering people into the right avenues and encouraging them to do the right things like how to get their IoT staked and just making it simple for that. So I know it's a little early to really be focusing on that too much, but as we get closer and as we get on the other side of this, I think it'll be increasingly important.
Cool. Thank you, Rishi. Appreciate the just hearing the perspective from you guys. I'm super excited about getting more integrated with their community. We're obviously already actively talking to so many different teams. Folks were really excited about Helium coming into the ecosystem. So lots and lots of positive signals overall. I'm sure we can kind of be drinking the Kool-Aid around it, but yeah, just good to hear in terms of your readiness on your side. Anything else as far as again, open forum? We've got everybody on right now. You've got a lot of folks from Foundation. So to the degree that we can be helpful, reduce some ambiguity, just kind of hear open feedback right now. This is all really valuable time. So anything else from the group right now? Could be totally unrelated to your organization, by the way. If it's something that is just more of more of a macro perspective on something, anything that's ecosystem wide. Nothing. Anybody else from Foundation team that wants to add anything?
I mean, just thank you guys for participating in this stuff, and we'll keep chatting in Discord and raise stuff as it comes. Manufacturers, please raise things. Custody providers, please raise things. We have several channels open, both public and private. So please, and if you're not sure how to reach us at the Foundation, hello@helium.foundation. Right? Let's talk.
I have a quick question about that Helium wallet address to Solana wallet address. I remember there's a function for that. Can you share the link that you have that so just save some time?
But how to convert it? Yeah, I can drop it in the channel.
Thank you.
It might be in Erlang or in Rust though. It might not be in TypeScript. Just
I mean, I think Erlang. Yeah, I mean, Rust is better. Erlang's a bit not fun, but yeah, I can rewrite that and go.
Oh God, kill me, Daniel.
Visual Basic, that's the language.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Echo all of Bai's appreciation. Keep the discussion in Fishbowl whenever possible. Just again, so we can add this as visibility out to the broader community. Anything more sensitive or anything where you just need a little bit more hands-on, hello at Helium Foundation or just DM. I think we're on with a bunch of you. So DM's always welcome on Discord, but thank you all for making the time today.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.